2,000 years ago, a moment of darkness swept over the world. Jesus, a teacher, healer, and for many, the long-awaited Messiah, had just been crucified. His death wasn't just the loss of a beloved leader, it felt like the end of hope. For his followers, everything they believed had come crashing down. But what happened next? What unfolded in the days and weeks after Jesus' death would change history forever? Let me tell you 5 powerful events, each one extraordinary, and each one carrying a message of hope, love, and transformation. To find these answers, watch this video to the end. The first event happened at the very moment Jesus breathed his last breath. In the temple, the holiest place in all of Jerusalem, something astonishing occurred. The curtain that separated the Holy of Holies, a sacred area where only priests could go, was torn in two from top to bottom. This wasn't just a random earthquake or a coincidence. That curtain symbolized a barrier between God and humanity. For centuries, people believed they couldn't approach God directly. They needed priests, rituals, and sacrifices to bridge the gap. But when that curtain tore, it was as if God himself was saying, "The old way is over. Through Jesus, everyone now has direct access to me. No more barriers, no more distance." This moment wasn't just about the temple. It was about a new relationship between God and humanity, one built on grace and love, not rules and rituals. Meanwhile, Jesus' closest followers, his disciples, were paralyzed with fear. Imagine how they felt. The man they believed was the Son of God had been executed like a criminal. Everything they had hoped for, freedom, justice, a new kingdom, seemed to die with him. Now they were hiding behind locked doors, terrified that the same people who killed Jesus might come for them next. Their leader was gone, their mission seemed over, and all they had left was confusion, doubt, and grief. Peter, one of Jesus' closest friends, must have felt this more deeply than anyone. Just hours before Jesus was arrested, Peter had promised he would never abandon him. But when the pressure came, he denied even knowing Jesus. 3 times. Imagine the guilt, the regret, the feeling of failure. But as dark as this moment was, it wasn't the end of the story. 3 days later, everything changed. Early in the morning, a group of women who followed Jesus went to his tomb. They wanted to anoint his body, a tradition of love and respect. But when they arrived, the massive stone blocking the entrance was rolled away, and the tomb was empty. Suddenly, an angel appeared, saying, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen." At first, the women didn't know what to think. Could it be true? They ran to tell the disciples, but even they struggled to believe it. Dead people don't come back to life, right? Then Jesus began to appear, first to the women, then to his disciples, and eventually to hundreds of people. He walked with them, talked with them, and even shared meals with them. He showed them the scars on his hands and feet, proving it was really him. The resurrection wasn't just a miracle, it was a message. Jesus had defeated death itself. It was proof that no matter how hopeless things seemed, God's power and love were stronger. 40 days after his resurrection, Jesus gathered his disciples one last time. He was about to ascend to heaven, but before he left, he gave them a mission, a purpose. He said, "Go and make disciples of all nations. Teach them to obey everything I've taught you. And remember, I am with you always, to the very end of the age." This was a turning point. These ordinary men and women, fishermen, tax collectors, and everyday people, were now entrusted with the greatest mission of all time, sharing the message of Jesus' love and salvation with the entire world. The Great Commission wasn't just about words, it was about action. They were called to live out Jesus' teachings, to love their neighbors, serve the poor, and show forgiveness and compassion to all. But how could they accomplish such a big mission? Jesus promised they wouldn't have to do it alone. 50 days after his resurrection, during a Jewish festival called Pentecost, the disciples were gathered in prayer. Suddenly, a sound like a rushing wind filled the room, and flames of fire appeared above their heads. This was the Holy Spirit, the very presence of God, coming to live within them. They began to speak in languages they had never learned, so people from all over the world could understand them. Thousands of people heard their message that day and believed in Jesus. It was the birth of something new, the church, a global community of believers united by faith and love. These 5 events, the torn curtain, the disciples' fear, the resurrection, the Great Commission, and the coming of the Holy Spirit, weren't just moments in history. They were signs of something bigger, that hope can rise from despair, that love is stronger than death, and that God's presence is with us always. Whether you believe in this story or not, its message is clear. Even in the darkest times, there is a promise of new life, new purpose, and new beginnings. What will your next chapter be? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story inspired you, check out our next video, where we'll explore another powerful moment in the Bible.